No one will ever love you like I do.
Narcissism is a very overused term these days, especially on the internet, as really everyone can display narcissistic traits at times, but that doesn't mean they're a narcissist, someone you could literally diagnose with narcissistic personality disorder. Having said that, Joe Goldberg from You is a narcissist. While we typically associate someone with NPD as being so obsessed with themselves that they lack empathy for those around them, according to the Mayo Clinic, you generally look for the following symptoms. And Joe Goldberg displays all of these characteristics over the course of the series. But of course he doesn't view himself that way. If you ask him, he'll always consider himself the good guy of the story, the misunderstood white knight who is only trying to protect his loved ones, failing to understand that just because you have a rationale doesn't mean you're behaving rationally. Anyone who's ever done anything wrong has a reason they believe is justified and perhaps even honourable. But that belief does not magically make you an agent of good. In fact, there's nothing more terrifying than someone who does wrong under the false pretense they're doing right, as they have no incentive to ever stop. But how does a seemingly innocent, hopeless romantic like Joe turn into such a violent monster? Let's take a deeper look at how Joe Goldberg's narcissism manifests over 5 seasons of You. Joe's psychology was shaped in childhood. Like most children, he naturally developed an incredibly strong bond with his mother, both stating that as long as they're together, they'll always be home. But he then had to watch the woman he adored the most suffer abuse at the hand of his father for years. So in order to protect her, he shot and killed his father with a gun he found in the closet. Despite his young age, you could call this a just murder. He saw someone committing serious harm and eliminated the threat. But being exposed to this level of violence at such a young age would have a severe impact on any child if handled incorrectly.
You were protecting me. You're a good boy. It was just an accident.
His mother didn't realize it, but her immediate reaction to make Joe feel better about what he'd done solidified a distorted moral compass within her son. From this point on, whenever he feels the instinct to protect the woman he loves, he considers whatever action he takes justified as he's still good. Out of fear of who her little Joey might become, his mother then abandoned him in foster care and started a new family, leaving behind a crippling fear of rejection. As it's not that she didn't want a child, she just didn't want him. So growing up, Joe gets stuck in a cycle, trying to find a new woman to funnel all of his hopes and dreams into to hopefully fill the void his mother left behind. But he doesn't just fall for anyone, he tends to seek out women who he believes need protection, wounded birds who are surrounded by abusers. This reinstills in Joe that he must be good, as he can compare his noble intentions with these other people's malevolent actions. After being bullied throughout foster care, he developed a distrust and even dislike for his fellow man, always feeling like the underdog who is being punished for trying to do the right thing. Until he meets his new father figure, bookshop owner Mr. Mooney. Mooney claims to have loved Joe, but he showed it in a strange way, demanding perfection from his apprentice and punishing him by locking him in a glass cage whenever he didn't meet his standards. He taught Joe that sometimes we do difficult things out of caring for someone, and therefore normalize the idea of controlling someone you love to do what's best for them, which would have a tremendous influence on how Joe treats his romantic partners.
Everything I have done for you.
But all this time in his glass cell gave Joe the chance to read and learn about the world from better men, not realizing that his obsession with dramatic stories about heroes and villains would only further infect his worldview to the point that he now believes he's the protagonist in his own story and begins narrating every moment of his life. Most people have an inner monologue. That on its own is not an indication of anything. But Joe's is a heavily romanticized view of himself that cuts out every other factor than the story he wants to author. He decides who matters and who doesn't, whose motivations are right or wrong, and who gets to live or die. Following the same cycle as his childhood, Joe seeks out a romantic candidate to put on a pedestal. Someone special who's not like everyone else. He's always initially infatuated with everything about them. In his eyes, they can do no wrong. However, he tends to view everyone around them as parasites chipping away at their soul. This way he can rationalize cutting them off from their friends, either by spreading lies, exposing the truth, or physically killing them as a way to free his partner from this social prison. When really it's just a way for him to isolate his target so that they have no distraction from giving him all the love and attention he needs. He claims to want someone who only cares about being in a partnership with him, something that no one living a full life can realistically give him. This allows him to think of himself as above them, even in the relationship, as he's the one willing to love the hardest. He doesn't believe love should have boundaries, which conveniently justifies stalking them and learning every intimate detail about them, as this way he can tell himself he's just a deep-feeling romantic, when really it's just a twisted way of understanding them as a means of controlling them, as that's the only way Joe can ensure he doesn't get abandoned again, just like with his mother. He doesn't have any problem lying to his partner or deceiving them at every turn, because he always somehow believes he's doing it to help them, as opposed to just safeguarding his own insecurities. For example, he resents their exes, threatened by their very existence as they're proof that his new target can fall for anyone other than him. So he eliminates them, convinced he's doing it for some noble reason like helping them move on or helping them in a custody battle. Joe is an expert at judging others for their bad actions while remaining completely oblivious to his own. And when he finally encounters someone that mirrors the same qualities he possesses, he instantly finds them horrifying.
Beck, you've got a stalker.
For example, when he discovers his first wife, Love Quinn, shares the same murderous instinct to maintain the perfect relationship, he considers it a complete turn-off as now he's out of control. He also resents his second wife, Kate's father, for controlling her life the same way Joe would if he had the chance. So he's good at identifying awful behaviors in others, but unable to spot them within himself. Sure, every time he does something violent, he'll tell himself that it's the last time, as if he's just one immoral move away from living the perfect life. But his self-righteousness guarantees it will never be the last time, as he doesn't really believe he's done anything wrong. Just look at his train of thought after he attacks Beck's best friend Peach by hitting her over the head with a rock, potentially killing her. God, the sound. I would never hurt a woman. But she was a dangerous, flesh-hungry harpy. She forced my hand. That's on her and her family for screwing her up. I had to, Beck, I had to. I knew you'd never forgive me, but she gave me no choice. I'm not a bad person. She was gonna ruin you. But you're safe now, thanks to me. I just want you to live your best life. It's brave, what I do for you. It's not easy, it's hard. Sometimes it makes me sick. I'm brave. How many guys are willing to do anything for the person they love? Honestly, Beck, you're lucky to have me. Nothing here suggests this is a man capable of judging himself or learning from his mistakes. Despite seeing her potentially dead on the ground, he's still spinning around in circles of self-justification. He wasn't only forced to do what he did, he should be praised for it, even recognized as a hero. Because in his narrative, he's the good guy, just like his mother told him he was after he shot his father. So he can only ever see the droplet of what he did right in an ocean of wrong. As if he ever loses his grip on that narrative, everything falls apart.
I'm the nice straight-edge guy, so there's nothing to worry about. People believe whatever supports their worldview.
Not only does Joe excuse all of his crimes, he somehow also judges everyone else as beneath him. They don't live up to whatever ideal he has in his head, or really they're just not him. So everywhere he goes, with everyone he sees, he's constantly narrating with these snide remarks about how he's better than them, complaining that they came from money, that they have it easy, that they're shallow and superficial, tearing them down as a way of elevating himself. Don't get me wrong, no one is exactly who they think they are, but few are as hypocritical as Joe Goldberg, as despite judging other people for being superficial, it's no coincidence that the only 2 women he marries come from extraordinary wealth, which allows him to live this life of privilege and comfort while still telling himself he's not like everyone else. That way he keeps his superiority complex intact. He's the one real person who's only pretending to be polite and charming to fit in with the other fake people, as that way he's not fake, he's just surviving, and of course still better than them. Despite authoring a narrative that he's the most loyal, romantic, and dedicated partner anyone could ask for, Joe still cheats on both of his wives, as once he's settled into their lifestyles and reaped all of its financial rewards, he's still not satisfied, and needs a new all-consuming love story that he can be the star in. He uses people, not only to get what he wants or feed his ego, but to rationalize his actions. For instance, Joe obviously likes killing people. He enjoys it, but he can't tell himself that, or it's hard to believe he's a good guy. So instead he pretends he's only ever doing it to protect someone else, even if they didn't ask him to, even if it's not a proportionate response. That way, in his mind, they're sort of indebted to him. He's showing how much he loves them. This is why the worst thing that could happen to someone like Joe is having his son Henry, as now he has this perfect permanent excuse, as there's always someone he needs to protect in some form or another.
I would do anything for him.
But even his own son is just a toy he plays with, a prop that he can pick up and put down. As the moment he's killed too many people and wants to disappear, he once again decides to frame himself as a good man and even better father by abandoning his child, giving him to parents who he knows will take super good care of him. Wow, this is father of the year material. That way he can fake his own death and go have more adventures in London without ever really thinking about it, before then taking his son back the moment he returns to New York and not even thinking about the fallout or disruption to anyone else's lives. He tells himself he's this deep-thinking, empathetic, loving, selfless hero, when all of his actions signal the opposite. He's a self-centered, reckless criminal who only idealizes others as a way to extract validation from them. It's all just about the story, whatever yarn he has to spin to justify his next selfish move while avoiding any personal responsibility.
It's unfair putting all of this on me. Aren't we all just products of our environment? Hurt people, hurt people.
Joe Goldberg is a serial killer, which is obviously bad enough. But what really makes him a narcissist is that regardless of how he lies, hurts, betrays, and even kills the women he fooled into falling in love with him, he somehow still believes he's the victim. The unrewarded hero who deep down all of his exes know was the best thing that ever happened to them. But when they express the opposite and the narcissistic narrative falls apart, he can't bear it. He has to control, silence, or crush the person who threatens his sense of self. He consistently claims he would do anything for those he loves, but when it comes down to it, he always just looks out for himself, deluding himself with these grandiose ideas of what love is or should be to justify whatever he feels he needs to do next to protect his fragile ego. The show is called You, as in I'm watching you like a stalker. But by the end of Joe's narcissistic journey, I would say it's more about how he points the finger to avoid accountability. Who does Joe love? You. Who does Joe hurt? You. Who does Joe blame? You. As his narcissism dictates that he's never the problem. You are. Well, if you've made it this far, firstly, thank you for watching, but if you could now give the video a like, possibly even leave a comment and click on that subscribe button, it will encourage that mysterious algorithm to do its thing.